everybody, it's Sherry from Alleged Actually. Welcome back. Today's Monday, so you know what that means. That means it's Married to Medicine Monday. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out the episode last night. It was the first part of the reunion. And you know, guys, we never get everything we want in the first part of a reunion. So it's always just kind of a time where we get a chance to check out the ladies' looks, kind of start with the beginnings of some of the thoughts of the season, the flashbacks of the season. And this particular season, these ladies have celebrated 10 years. And so you'll see them doing some flashbacks to some other scenes from episodes from seasons past. So let's get into it. But before we get into the reunion, I want to say thank you to all my actualizers. Thank you guys for tuning in and for supporting us. Go ahead and hit the like button for me, please. Subscribe and comment. We are going into our next phase. Our next phase. Our next goal is 2,000 subscribers. So you guys just please keep sharing our content, keep liking it, and we will get there very soon. I feel very confident, and we have you to thank for that. But I've been traveling a lot, so I hadn't got a chance to get on here like I normally have, my normal routine. So I did want to address two things from the episode prior to the reunion part 1, the Met Gala. There is two things that a lot of people seem to have issue with from that particular episode. So I'm going to give my little 2 cents for both of those. Number one was a lot of people were discussing Quad seeking out Dr. G for this infamous hug and sweet tea. A lot of people thought it was inappropriate or that she's doing too much. My take on it, listen guys, Quad pretty much got silenced at after 2 or 3 episodes of the season. This was her moment. Y'all know Miss Quad. Miss Quad was going to take her camera time and do what it needed to get done what needed to be done. So when she came to the Met Gala, might add, she looked absolutely stunning. She came to be seen and she sought out Sweet Tea, made sure that she gave her a hug first and asked if she minded, if she spoke with Dr. G, and if she hugged his neck for a little minute. Sweet Tea said you had to ask him, and he seemed to be fine with it. So she gives him a hug. So the conversation was, did it look like Dr. G held on a little bit too long? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. He certainly looked very uncomfortable. Looks like he may have some unresolved feelings there. But I mean, it's awkward. Sweet Tea, I felt for her because she looked kind of uncomfortable. I think it was meant to be an uncomfortable moment. I think Quad was trying to get her moment in. I really don't think she could care less about Dr. G and Sweet Tea as far as there being issues with her having lasting feelings. I don't think so. I think Quad was just trying to make her moment. And as far as whether Dr. G still wants Quad, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I mean, he says some crazy stuff, which we'll see, I guess, later on as we get into part 2 and 3 of the reunion. But I really just think Quad was trying to get her moment. So that's my 2 cents. And then with Dr. Heavenly, the other part everyone was discussing was whether it was cool that Dr. Heavenly put Toya on blast at the Met Gala for not putting in her $1,000. Toya's perspective was that she had supplied wine from her wine tasting club and that she only gets a certain amount allotted to her a year and that she was using quite a few bottles for this event. Now, we find out in the reunion, because that's addressed, that she actually doesn't have to front that cost up front. So I think that I don't think that she should have not given her $1,000. I don't think that excused her from doing what the rest of the ladies did, because Phaedra also brought champagne that she supplied and she gave her $1,000. So whether it was right for Heavenly to do that in that setting, probably not But come on, guys. We know Dr. Heavenly. She's going to get her moment in too. This is what Heavenly does. Heavenly's messy. So, again, my thoughts, they were doing their job, y'all. Dr. Heavenly had to make Toya look crazy on there. I mean, Toya should have paid that $1,000. Now, really, she should have. So, I personally wasn't mad at Dr. Heavenly. I know it was tacky. Probably not the right setting, but come on. It makes good TV, y'all. Anyway, getting into the reunion part 1. I always like to start off talking about reunions with, let's talk about the looks. The ladies look beautiful. The setting, the set was basically a replica of Napa Valley, where Toya took all the ladies when she went to do her business for her wine tasting club with Kendall James, KJ Wine. And so the set was nice. I was a little confused on a couple of the looks. I did not get Quad, because Quad is usually very fashion forward. I did not like her look. I know Dr. Heavenly kept being messy and teasing that somebody was resembling Bats. And now I have to say, I think she was talking about Quad. I did not enjoy her look. A hairstyle, none of that. It wasn't giving what Quad typically gives. I did like Toya's dress, and I liked the way she looked. I thought it was very classy, very classic. I liked Dr. Jackie's look. I was not feeling Simone. I'm not sure what was going on there either. But in my opinion, the best look of the night goes to Dr. Heavenly. She was wearing that green. I really thought she looked good. Self-admittedly, she's had some things done, a little tummy tuck. She's lost some weight, and Heavenly works out. She looked good. She looked really good. So I'm going to give the look of the night to Dr. Heavenly. So y'all, let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about that seating chart. So usually the two that have the most going on during the season sits closest to Andy. That's not necessarily the case on this one, because you had to his right, Dr. Jackie, and to his left, Dr. Simone. So they had the hot seats. Maybe it's just to show respect. They are celebrating 10 years, and maybe they are just putting the I don't know, because neither one of them to me were the center of the season. But nonetheless, they were sitting beside Andy, and then beside Dr. Jackie was Dr. Heavenly, and then Phaedra, and then Quad. Then by Dr. Simone was Toya, then Sweet Tea. Empty chair for Dr. Alicia. She did not show for part 1. I guess they're going to bring her in part 2. So I'm assuming that her role was really friend to the show, which makes sense because we didn't really hear a lot from Dr. Alicia until the last few episodes. But nonetheless, we open up with the ladies kind of talking about the scene when Phaedra brought Quad to Sweet Tea's pampering party. And she's in the hot seat, basically. First of all, we know Phaedra, this is her first season with Married to Medicine, or first time filming with Married to Medicine. Really her first season on the show. She didn't bring much to it. I'm still hopeful that with the reboot of our HOA that they may bring Phaedra back. It's been alluded that they're talking to her. I've heard two sides. I think Dr. Heavenly on her YouTube channel, when she goes live with Carlos, had said that she didn't think that Phaedra's going to do it. However, it's been alluded to by Phaedra. They've definitely been in talks. So we'll see. I think she'd be a better fit back over to Housewives. But either way, if she comes back for a second season with Married to Medicine, I'd like to see her give a little more, show herself really dating, or if she is dating someone in the medical field, show that. Show more with the issues with her and Apollo, because it's said that Apollo's going to we already know Apollo's going to be on the reunion, which I can't wait for. Spoiler alert, he is not on part 1. So you'll have to wait for part 2 or 3. I'm not sure where he's going to actually walk on set, but he is coming. And I've heard that he really brings it. So for everything that Phaedra did not bring, Apollo's coming to bring what she just couldn't deliver. So stay tuned for that. The ladies asked Phaedra if they thought it was appropriate for her to bring Quad. And at this point, Phaedra felt like she was trying to, I guess, help them all mend fences. It had been said that Quad hadn't been reaching out. Phaedra, on her behalf, said, well, the phone goes both ways. And then they let her know, yeah, we've called her and she hasn't responded. And Quad thought it would be the best time to present herself because Toya had been talking about her. And, it kind of went like quick on episode 1 where Toya basically was talking about Quad getting a DUI. So Quad, because, in the first episode, Quad was not there. She shows up later because, remember, she was negotiating her contract. So she shows up on the episode where we see Sweet Tea's pampering party, which is like her bachelorette party before they got married. And so that's where she really makes her debut on this season. So she thought that was the time to come address the ladies or check in since people were talking about it. Truth be told, y'all, I guess she finally got to the point where she realized she had to show up for work, this negotiating with the contract. However it went, this season wasn't her best season. She literally got silenced, but that was her true delay. At any rate, they talk about, then they go into the Dr. G and Phaedra thing. Child, y'all, Phaedra was bouncing around those questions like dodgeball. She was like, nope. So she knew Dr. G from back in the day, and it's clear in some capacity that they dated. According to Dr. G, they dated. According to her, they went on dates, that there was no kind of physical anything with that. Nothing, they didn't go there. According to what Quad and I believe Sweet Tea was told, that there was definitely some kissing. There was something there. And that the reason that the relationship did not progress is because Phaedra had requested him to give her an allowance of $4,000 a month. And he wasn't able to do it. Phaedra comes back and says basically that, they went on dates and they were friendly, but it didn't go anywhere. She doesn't even really admit to the requesting the $4,000 a month, but both Quad and Sweet Tea were holding pretty tight that they believed Dr. G. And they also asked Dr. Heavenly about her statement that Phaedra was, there's no truth in the bee. We all know Phaedra can tell some tall ones, y'all. That's why she's so good at traders. Which, by the way, I've got to catch up on that too. But anyway, so there's a little conversation about that. Phaedra kind of evades it, but basically, it becomes clear that Phaedra and Dr. G have different recollections of what level of dating they did. But they did, in fact, they were connected in the beginning. So she's known him for years, and at some point they went on dates. And when Sweet Tea came back, when she said, look, we never had any kind of physical contact. And when Sweet Tea said, well, Dr. G said you definitely kissed. And she was like, I never kissed that man. And she was like, well, he has no reason to lie. That's when Dr. Heavenly comes in. But see there, you think you know your man so much and there's so much you don't know. And Sweet Tea's like, you're not going to come for my relationship. You're not coming for my marriage. You can already see the tension mounting. And guys, prior to that, let me just say, when the girls are getting ready in the dressing room, Sweet Tea does the most juvenile thing. She's putting up pictures of Heavenly from back in the day, Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon together, when Heavenly was a little plumper. And she's putting different statements on people's dressing room doors. She put on Dr. Heavenly's that this was a frying pan free zone. And then she put on Andy's, you is smart, you is important, you is, that little mantra thing. It just was so childish. So if she wanted to get away from the ladies' critique that she was a little girl, she surely didn't really accomplish that by acting like a little girl. I don't know what she was trying to accomplish there. It just looks stupid. But I'm sure more to follow there, because as we've heard from a little bit from Dr. Heavenly, with the things that she could say on her live, that there's definitely going to be some tension there. There's going to be some words exchanged. There's going to be some stuff between Sweet Tea and her that's played out in social media. It's gotten kind of ugly. There were some really bad things exchanged. Dr. Heavenly and her went back and forth because Sweet Tea was basically commenting on the fact of how tacky it was for her to out Toya for not paying her $1,000. She was saying that's why she wasn't respected in the medical community. Dr. Heavenly did not take kindly to that, and she just went at her. Went at her. She was like, I can't come for you because you don't have nothing, but I can come for Dr. G. She basically called Dr. G a pedophile, which she did remove and take down, and she has apologized on her life for saying that. But they just went back and forth, y'all. It's messy. So if you keep tuning in, I guarantee you're going to see a whole lot more of where all that tension and animosity came from. And I understand that Sweet Tea's mom and sister are on deck too. So you're going to want to tune into the next parts. But anyway, they also wanted to talk a little bit more about how, the event went with the Willie Watkins event, where Quad was in the casket and did the rebirth thing. And basically, that's when Phaedra started to see that she may need to jump off of the Quad bandwagon a little bit. She had hoped that this would be a time for Quad to have some sort of accountability and the ladies to mend fences, but that did not happen. So I think Phaedra started to become aware that, if she was going to have a good season, she might want to put a little distance between her and Quad, which then they ask her about before they go to the trip, Napa Valley, that did she in fact switch her flight? And of course she did. In the beginning on the episode, at first she kept kind of evading it, saying, nah, she didn't switch her flight because of Quad. It was because her son's birthday and all this. Phaedra will kind of dodge stuff. That's just what she does. But then she does admit, she kind of distanced herself because she said, she didn't want to be tied to the Titanic. She could see the handwriting on the wall. Quad was really tearing herself with the group. It was not a good look. And being new to the group, I can certainly understand why Phaedra didn't want to be a part of that drama. So I respect that. Basically, after that, they basically go on to talk a little bit about the Toya and her wine club. And, they talked about the trip, Napa Valley, about when Quad got there, when she got there, the energy was off, and Simone and Sweet Tea heard her say that she was basically there for the check, which, just set things off. That's how they were already, because she was saying, well, it was clear that you didn't want me on the trip. And Toya said, had you had called me, we could have talked about it, which she didn't. And then her comment about being there just for her check certainly didn't help. And so we all know what happens. Dr. Simone speaks for the group. Well, first, before that, the ladies exchange about friendships. Just don't believe that Quad has been a good friend. And you can see, with Dr. Jackie's face, Dr. Simone, Toya, even Dr. Heavenly, Quad was trying to dig herself out of the damage that she has really done with her friendships, but it wasn't working. The ladies really aren't buying it. And I don't know. We're going to keep watching to see how that evolves. But basically, it just, they just didn't seem to be buying it. And Quad is really going to have to take some accountability before these ladies can move forward. I don't know. She may come back next season. But it's going to be chilly for her. I know that her and Dr. Heavenly supposedly have made up, but I don't know how the other ladies have warmed up to her. And basically, then they go on to talk about, they ask, from there, they talk to Toya about the wine club and about her not putting up the cash for Met Gala. And they do the little flashback, and they show how Toya has been complaining all season about Dr. Eugene child and the lack of date nights, and her wanting more. And just, he asked her what the status of her and Dr. Eugene are as far as their relationship, and she said they are in a loving place now. They're good, that they're better than they've been, which is nice to hear, because she sure did put Dr. Eugene through it this season. I mean, y'all, everything the man tried to do, she just basically wasn't satisfied. But she says they're in a good place now, which is good. And sometimes going back and watching yourself will give you a chance to self-reflect and grow. So I hope that's what happened. I hope Toya is a little bit more grateful of the things that Dr. Eugene does for her, because he definitely has that girl. I mean, he holds her down. He did at the Met Gala, which we'll get into that as they discuss it on the reunion. After that, Andy just basically asked her, because he was really trying to get into, like, where does this come from with her being so demanding of Dr. Eugene, like things not being good enough. And she said it's always been that way. He would come with a glass of wine when she wanted a bottle. He would come with this when she'd want this, that her standards were really high. And Andy really asked her, where did she get that sense of high level sense of means, or, I won't say entitlement, but in a, all this high class energy of, you having to have this. Like, where did it come from? Because, I mean, we all have heard her story. She's not like she grew up in money. And she said that basically when her parents split, her dad lived in the hood where she wouldn't even leave her car. And her mother, I guess, did have them in the suburbs. But she had a story of when she was in middle school that her mother brought her Pro Kids. I don't know what Pro Kids are, but some of the ladies did. Apparently, it's a shoe that's embarrassing to middle school kids. I don't know. But apparently her mother brought her Pro Kids, and she was teased. And after that, that did something to her about, I guess, caring about appearances. And I can understand that. Kids can be mean, particularly in middle school. So that sheds some light as to why Toya is the way she is. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it explains where she's coming from. So after that, then Andy asked Dr. Heavenly about putting Toya on blast at the Med Gala. And she says, I felt like I needed to. She said, we all agreed. And, you could look at the ladies' faces. They did. They did agree that to be a team player, that they had all planned this together. And since you were planning it, and the plan was that each woman was going to donate $1,000, I agree. And so that was where she thought she needed to call her out. And of course, Andy, being Andy, asked Dr. Jackie if she thought it was the right thing to do. And she said, maybe not the right place. And they go to commercial. So then they come back and they go to the FaceTime that she did with Vice President Kamala Harris. And of course, you know where we're going with this, guys. So they then go back and show all the doctors at work, all of them doing their thing. They talk to them about whether Dr. Simone and Dr. Jackie have a conversation with women a lot about STDs, because that had come up in one of the scenes. And Dr. Simone said it was a weekly conversation. And, Dr. Jackie agreed. They were like, it was almost like they felt like they were a part of like a Cheaters episode, which I can imagine, y'all. They have to tell a woman, particularly women that think they're in monogamous relationships, that they have STDs. Ugh, that's rough. But that's the life of an OBGYN. What are you going to do? At any rate, we get to what we're trying to get to, which is where we knew we were going, where Dr. Jackie's comment on Dr. Heavenly's live went viral, and she got all that backlash about saying how Black women that are pregnant complain so much, and that it's basically that they are like their crying wolf, so that when there's something that really is wrong, doctors don't take them seriously, which is very contradictory to her platform that she's working on, where she had spoke with Vice President Harris on, with trying to alert awareness to the high levels of mortalities in African American women during childbirth. And so Dr. Jackie clearly was shaken. She started crying again. The ladies, were real supportive, reached out. And she talked about how that was a really dark moment because she had worked so hard. And it's, a 30-second clip undid a lot of what she was trying to do. And she found herself in a dark place because she loved her patients. She really cared, and she really cared for her cause. Now, to be honest, y'all, I felt bad for Dr. Jackie. She did look really shook. She looked so hurt. And so basically, it was stated that, she wanted to make sure that she let everyone know that Phaedra was the first one that reached out to her. Phaedra called her every day. Dr. Simone was supportive. Toya called. Basically, all the ladies, she said Dr. Heavenly didn't like to see her cry, but she sent flowers and chocolates and, things to cheer her up. The only one that did not reach out to Dr. Jackie was Quad. And Andy leaned in on the fact that, that's kind of the lady's point, Quad. Why didn't you call? And that's when Quad lets them know that she had reached out to Dr. Heavenly, and Dr. Heavenly had let her know maybe this isn't the right time to reach out to Dr. Jackie. Was it just me, guys, or did y'all notice that every time a Quad would say, well, because they were like, why did you go? I think it was Dr. Simone that said, why did you go to Dr. Jackie? Like, she's, a gateway to get to Dr. Jackie. And she's like, she's like, we're not going to sit here and act like we don't know these ladies are like this. That Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Jackie are extremely close. Every time she said that, did you see Dr. Simone's face? Dr. Simone is not over that at all and does not like it. You could see it on her face. At any rate, Dr. Heavenly explains that, in fact, Quad did reach out to her, and she did say, maybe right now isn't the right time to reach out to Dr. Jackie, because after all that had happened with them kind of dismissing her from Napa Valley trip and pretty much dismissing her from the remainder of the season up until the last episode, that the ladies kind of thought she had something to do with exposing that live, resurfacing it. My thoughts, though, well, Quad completely denied that, particularly at the end when she went directly to Dr. Jackie. And that's at the end of the episode where they're getting ready to wrap it up for that part. And she's crying and she does approach Dr. Jackie. Now, child, whether she did or she didn't, I don't know. But let's be clear. When you put something out there on social media, it could have been anybody. It could have been a fan. It takes just one share, particularly after she was just so adamant about this cause. You got to watch what you say, because once it's out there in social media land forever, to be resurfaced, to be reshared. So let's just say that the real issue is she shouldn't have said it. The clear thing is that she certainly is regretful for what she said, and that I think she's learned a really valuable lesson. Don't hop on Heavenly's lives. And if you do, watch what you say, okay? So after we get through that, we basically then go on to Dr. Simone asking Quad about the trip. and that, you know, the fact that, let's see, she really was trying to get at how bad of a friend Quad had been. And then, you know, why she wanted to know why she even came on the trip. And Quad stated that she wanted to support Toya. And, you know, then it goes into them showing that, or then Sweet Tea and Dr. Simone admitting that or that she basically said she was truly there to get her check. And so then the two of them, Quad and Toya, really hash it out. And for the first time, you see Quad really apologize to Toya for the things that she said. She had accused Toya of cheating on Dr. Eugene. But then, of course, she always preps it back. Well, you know, I shouldn't have done that because people were saying I was sleeping with the contractors. You know, one thing about Quad that gets on my nerves is she can't let anybody have it. It's like if she apologizes, it's like, I'm going to apologize to you, but I was also hurt. I'm going to give it to you, but you did this to me too. It's like something she struggles with. I hope she gets help for that because that's very, very off-putting. But Toya did receive it because she said that she'd apologized several times, but Toya acknowledged this was the first time that she kind of put herself in Toya's shoes, if you will, with saying that when it was done to me, I didn't like it. So I shouldn't have turned around and done the same thing to you. So then that did seem like a much more sincere apology. So Toya did seem to accept the apology. And so from there, they did say, Dr. Jackie had said, so they went back and forth again more about the friendship aspect where basically they felt like Quad had not been there for them, had not been a good friend. Dr. Jackie said she would have liked if Quad had been present and maybe said something. And then, you know, we went on to talk about the whole Dr. Heavenly thing of why, and them thinking that maybe she had something to do with the leak of Dr. Heavenly's live with her. And then basically, Dr. Simone screams, as she typically does, which drives me insane, y'all. I cannot stand the way she screams. I just don't know how as a cast. I mean, she's gotten better. But even then, she's like, you know, they start talking about, again, it's just a friendship. There's still a lot of animosity you can tell. And Dr. Simone basically states that Quad has not been a good friend, that she can count on her hand of never the times that Quad has ever invited her and, you know, her husband to her home when the cameras weren't rolling, when it was just, you know, that she was like, never. She's like, the answer is, I can count on one hand because the answer is never. That Quad has never invited them to her home, sans camera, so that outside of the show, they seem to have no relationship. And basically, at one point, they did admit Dr. Simone and Quad were close at one time. And then Quad had said that, you know, it was basically Simone was holding back from her because Dr. Simone didn't want to make Toya upset. But Dr. Simone comes back still screaming that the reason being was Toya had been a good friend to her, that her and Toya had become close, and that she wasn't willing to sacrifice her real friendship with Toya, because Toya has showed herself to be a real friend, for Quad. I mean, can you blame her? It seems childish a bit that you can't be friends with everybody, but given the history between Quad and Toya and all the hurtful things that were said to each other, that were hurled at each other, I guess she felt her loyalty lies with Toya. Okay. And so basically, guys, from there, we get where Dr. Simone brings up how, unlike Quad, she had been there for her, or unlike Quad for Simone, Simone has been there for Quad. And Dr. Simone brings up the incident of the drowning of her great niece in her pool, which, y'all, I don't know. it's part of her trying to set the tone that she can be a good friend and can put things aside and be there for her when she really needs her outside of the show. So I got it. Oh, it just seemed fresh because that happened after Met Gala, and Quad was just shaking and just crying. I mean, she ended up pulling it together, acknowledging that Simone was there for her and that she thanked her for that. I don't know if that was a good idea to bring that up, but nonetheless, I think Dr. Simone is just at a place where she's fed up. She's just fed up with Quad and her theatrics and her victim mentality, because that's kind of what I see, guys. And I would think she just wanted to call it out that, you know, though you can say we haven't been good friends to you and we've done all these things to you, when you really needed me, I was there for you despite all of that. And so she did, in fact, bring that incident up as an example. So basically, that's where this particular part of the reunion ends. And so you see, as they're wrapping up, Quad does come to, like, they're all getting up to leave set. Dr. Jackie is approached by Quad, and Quad is upset, letting her know that she had nothing to do with that leak of, not even leak, just the resurface of the live with her and Dr. Heavenly. And so that's kind of where we end, guys. I think, well, first of all, I'm very much looking forward to part 2 and part 3, because that's where we're going to get into some more of the meat. That's where you're going to see the issues between Sweet Tea and Dr. Heavenly, the drama there. That's where you're going to see Apollo kind of exposing some stuff about Phaedra. That's where you're going to see Dr. G talking crazy. I mean, there's so much more to come. So keep watching so we can keep talking about it. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. Y'all hit that notification button too, so that when I drop content, you'll be the first to know. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. That was Married to Med. I'll be watching again on Sunday. Guys, come on back Thursday, where me and Bria are going to be recapping Love is Blind and Married at First Sight Denver. It's going to be decision day. So that's for Married at First Sight Denver. And then, you know, we're ramping up with Love is Blind to get to that wedding day. So all of it is great. So you guys got to come back and you got to watch. And thank you so much for all of you guys that have supported us, and for our new subscribers, because we did get some new ones over the weekend. Welcome. Please continue to like, share, and put that feedback in the comments. And what did y'all think of part 1 of Reunion for Married to Medicine? What did y'all think? Who had the best look, in your opinion? Let me know. What did y'all think about the whole thing with Quad and Dr. Simone? Do you think she was right for dropping that? Do you think that Dr. Heavenly was right to call Toya out at the Met Gala? Do you think Toya was right for not paying the $1,000? Y'all, put in the comments. Let's talk about it, all right? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Sherry. This is Legend Actually Podcast. And again, thank you. And I want you to come back later in the week as we drop more